Oh, oh, on. Hi. Hi, I'm Sailor Moon. And I'm Sailor Mars. And today we're gonna talk about, you know, okay, so today we're gonna talk about, worship and Sailor Moon. Now, I know some folks out there might think, what do you mean worship in Sailor Moon? Well, in Sailor Moon, there are at least two beliefs or worships that are talked about, or at least some follow, or some selfhoods happen to follow. Now, the big two ones would be Shintoism and Christianity, being the two worships in Sailor Moon, of course. Now, first off, you might ask yourself, if there why those are the two worships. Well, there are other worships in Japan as well, but in Sailor Moon, those are the two that are at least shown. Now, Rei's father, no, actually, no, my mistake. Rei's grandfather was a Shintoist priest or holy man, since Cherry Hills Temple was a worship house of the Shinto belief or worship. Later on, one of the rainbow crystals or rainbow hearth holders would be a priest who would meet up that Molly would first meet with after Nephilim would die. There was the same priest or holy man who was eventually was taken by Prince Endymion as well when he was brainwashed and didn't know what he was doing. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, no, the next time it comes up is the Tiger's Eye in Sailor Moon Super S targets a holy woman who he believes her soul will be actually the one where Pegasus is living in, or at least hiding in. Now, you might think to yourself, why am I talking about worship in Sailor Moon? We all know that, yeah, true. Anyway, yeah, as Sailor Moon puts it, there was worship in Sailor Moon. And the Toei as well as the Viz one, it does play a role many times. Many of us, there have been times where, God gets talked about, God is talked to. So yeah. And then even times where they meet and, where in a Deacon Cloverway that was taken out of it. Once again, even though once again, in the Deacon Cloverway, they don't even, those words are not even spoken. Yes, it's true, my grandfather and the priest are both in the Deek one, but what they say is not the same. Okay, true that my grandfather does act and does behave in ways that, I really don't think was right, but what he says is not the same. Alright? Like, like in a deep one, the priest goes, violence is something we must purge from our lives. Well, in the Toei and Viz one, he goes, do you believe in God? I believe it. Do you believe in God? Well, I believe in God. Go out and show kindness to your fellow man and your fellow woman. Now, you might think to yourself, why would those be the two warships that are even shown in Sailor Moon when there are many other warships in Japan? But I think at the time, the two warships that were big and still are, well, all warships are big. But I think at that time, the only two that, are talked about or shown, because most of all of our friends and kin happen to be from those two warships. Now, I can't say if that's what I can't say, but everybody, at least that's right. You're right about that, Sailor Mars. a lot of our friends and our kin were either Christian. Some of them were, do you say, is it a Hinduist or is it a Shintoist? I guess it's a Shintoist. Um, but there were other warships, true. There are other warships in Japan, a lot of them, true. And I'm sure there are other selfhoods and other folks in Sailor Moon who follow other warships, that's true. But the two warships that are at least talked about, or at least shown a lot, is Christianity and Hindu, and Shintoism, if I'm saying that right. I could be saying that word wrong, So I know some folks out there might, wonder why in Deke and Cloverway this was toned down. The same grounds to why the same kind love was cleaned up. There were folks who felt that it would not be right, even though there'd be nothing wrong with it. But there were some folks that felt that, that shouldn't be in there, or that'd be wrong, or someone might get mad. And they didn't want to, once again, Deke and Cloverway didn't want someone to get pissed, get mad and get mad and irked at them and say, oh, you were talking about Shintoism, or you were talking about Christianity, and my worship wasn't talked about or shown in a show. Or maybe someone who doesn't worship at all gets, someone who doesn't believe in any worship gets mad and irked. Well, either way, I guess they want to cover their butts. Yeah, you're right about that, Sailor Moon. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And just to let you know, the priest's name is never mentioned. The one that Zoisite goes after, the one, he's never named, but we would believe. We don't know what his name was. It was never given. But he's still doing good these days, even though he's only been in 2 followings of Sailor Moon, and you never see him again. But I hope he's still doing good. And my grandfather, who died many years ago, not many years after all that went down, Oh, my grandfather was also targeted by Zoisite, who also seeked to get the rainbow crystal he was holding as well, And, yeah, and my grandfather, he was in all the followings of Sailor Moon, Classic, Super, Super S, not in Sailor Stars though, but he was there again in Holy Talismans 1 and Solar Talismans 1 and 2. He was also there for Sailor Moon Velocity, Sailor Moon that was it. He died after Velocity, of course. And he went in Holy Souls and Extreme. He's talked about. But anyway, it is what it is, So talking about worship in Sailor Moon, whether it be Shintoism or it would be Christianity, would be the 2 worships that at least would be talked about in Sailor Moon. Even though Nako Takiguchi herself was a Buddhist by worship, but most Buddhists believe in God and Jesus too. Now, and even though she being a Buddhist by worship, she wanted to show folks that there were many other worships in Japan, so she picked Christianity and Shintoism. I guess since Shintoism is a folk worship in Japan, and Christianity that was brought into Japan a long, long time ago, just like Buddhism and all the other worships were brought to Japan many years ago. But many of me and many of the other Sailor Fighters and some friends and kin were Christians, and other ones were Hinduists and were Shintoists and Buddhists, and whatever the case might be. Yeah, and maybe even some are Jews. I don't know. You're right about that, Sailor Mars. Okay, I guess we're going to end this film now. We're getting about 10 minutes into a film now. I'm Sailor Moon. I'm Sailor Mars. We'll see you later.